I want you to answer these 3 questions for your own self. Which is your favorite holiday destination? So it can be one that you've gone to, or one that you would like to go to, a place you'd like to visit. The second question to answer is how many children are you in your family? So you plus your siblings. Can be one or, however many. Then number 3, write what is your favorite food? See, those are simple questions. Yes? Number 1, favorite holiday destination. Number 2, number of siblings or number of children. Let's say number of children in your family so that you can count yourself, okay? And then number 3, favorite food. Are we all done? Are you all done? All right. Then now I want you to stand up. Then go with your list. I'm going to give you guys 3 minutes. Tunaendelea tu na design thinking. 3 minutes, go with your list. Find someone who has a common thing with you from the 3 questions. If you find someone who has a common thing with you, say, my favorite food is ugali, and then you find someone with a favorite food, ugali, you get 1 point for yourself. And as always, we have something sweet for the person with the most points. All right? Holiday destination, number of children in your family, you plus your siblings, favorite food. All right, start now. Move around and talk to each other. Make sure you talk to at least 3 people so that you can get the most number of points. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Get up, get up, get up. Let's go, let's go. I'm good. We have to represent. So, what we'll do, usual questions. Usual questions. Introduce yourself. Tell your story. And then move around. How many points are you getting? How many points? 1 point for one common thing. Okay, about a minute remaining. Lewis. Okay. Patiana my lollipop. Okay, all right. Who has the most points? Nani akona 10 points, 10 common things, 10 common things. Inua mkono. Aya, kujeni tu hapa mbele. Mali Lewis ako. Lewis, come and stand here. Kujeni hapa mbele. Kuna mtu akona 11 points? Anyone with 11 points? Commonality? 11? Oh, I should have started higher. Okay, 20 points. 19. Okay, come to the front. Tuko na IEBC hapa. Lewis will check your 19 points. Okay, 18 points. 18, 17,
1, 2, 3, 4,
16,
5. Okay. This is
15,
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
14, 14, come.
19. Hey,
13,
19.
come to the front. 13, 0. Nobody has anything with you. Oh my goodness.
This is 1, this is 5.
All right, 12,
this is 4,
11, 11 points.
13.
I had seen guys of 11 points. 11 points. Come to the front. We have something for you. 11 points.
13.
How come?
So Lewis will check, but for now, all right, listen, please stand. Let's stand in a straight line. Actually, come to the stage. Just come over. Stand in a straight line. Stand in a... 12 and 11. 13. Okay. You still get something. All right. So I just want to, first of all, clap for this group here. Wapigia makofi. So we're just going to sample who are the highest? It was you. Okay. Just tell us what your common points were.
All right, Maldives.
Favorite destination, Maldives.
Siblings 5.
5.
Favorite food, chicken.
Oh wow. Okay, clap for him. What did you have? Oh, pass the mic. Oh, I just want to sample. Pastor, what did you have? Maldives. I can see why.
Sibling 6.
I thought Mombasa would win, but anyway.
Sibling 6.
6.
Food, smashed matoke and fish in groundnut soup.
Really?
Yeah.
No, how many points was that? How many
I
people
had
did you
4.
have? 4. All right, clap for her. Let's hear one more person. Let's do you.
So my favorite holiday destination, South Africa. I'm alone apparently. Yes. A number of siblings. I have 3 siblings. Okay. Favorite food, chapati.
Chapati ndio imemfanya kuwa hapa. All right, let's hear from you.
Best holiday destination, Maldives.
Hey, Maldives.
Number of children, 6. Then favorite food, fish.
Fish. All right. Clap for this, guys. Let me hear from the... You can go take your seats. Grab a lollipop from Lewis if you want one. Of course, kama utaki ni sawa. If you don't want, it's okay. All right. The second group, come on top here. I want to hear. Are you guys also Maldives people? Some of you. All right. Give anyone. Let me hear yours.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
I realized that many people want to go to Diani.
Diani.
Yes. Diani.
Yay! Clap for Kenya. We have made it.
4 siblings, ilikuwa around 5 people.
Okay.
And I realized that many people love eating healthy. Misheveve and ugali. So yeah. So there were like 4. Yeah. So yeah, Misheveve and ugali. Yeah.
Wow. All right. Well done. Give someone else here.
Hi.
Mine is 3 siblings, and my favorite food is fried eggs and ugali. My favorite destination is Kamdunda Falls in Embu.
In Embu?
Yeah.
Did you have anyone in common there? I'm just curious. Kuna mtu alisema anataka kwenda Embu?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, wow. All right. That's nice. Let me hear from a lady here. One of you, yeah, you can go.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
My favorite holiday destination is Santorini.
Santorini.
Yes. The number of children, 3.
Yes.
Then favorite food, chapati and beans. So my biggest point was on children, 3.
Oh, that's nice. Okay, let's take one last one.
For me, holiday, Maldives.
Yes.
Children, 6. And then favorite.
6. Were there many of
Yes.
you guys were 6?
We were
Okay.
6 of us who
Okay.
had 6. And
Okay.
then
Okay.
food, chapati with anything else.
With anything.
With anything.
So chapati. All right. Please clap for them. That was really interesting. You can go grab lollipops from Lewis. They said it's not a must. If you don't like. All right. That was interesting. Yeah. Okay. You have a point. I know she had 0. Who else had 0? 0. You too. Aki, just come and grab an in. You can get a lollipop from Lewis. Tumekubalisha. All right. Let's clap for the zeros. It means they're very unique people. There's one there, and I think there's one there. All right. I think now our blood is flowing a little bit, so we can kick off. We're going to have a really, really interesting day today. All right. We're going to talk mostly legal stuff, and we're very privileged to have an expert professional in matters legal. Her name is Wangeshi Wahome from Anza Village. She'll introduce herself fully. That's Wangeshi. Wangeshi, you can stand up. Let's do the politicians things. Wave, wave. Wave in the air. All right, all right. So Wangeshi is going to tackle 2 pieces when it comes to legal matters for startups. One is just that, legal matters for startups. And then she's also going to talk about IP, intellectual property, and all things related to that. I know you guys yesterday were saying how you feel scared of having your idea stolen, yeah? So please prepare all your questions around legal matters for entrepreneurs or for startups for Wangeshi, all right? And then we're going to have 2 additional speakers today. One is a surprise guest who's gone through a similar program, and she's going to talk about how they have gone through the innovation journey, where they started and where they are at now. That's how we're going to end. But to kick us off, we're going to have a conversation, all of us, with a gentleman called Samuel Njuguna. Even you can wave in the air. Let us start waving in the air like politicians. So I met Sam Njuguna at Spark Accelerator. He runs a really popular app called Chooms. Who has Chooms? Yes, yes. He's even made me an ambassador. I always go telling people to download. So he's going to tell us about his journey. The reason we have people just sharing real stories is so that you can see for yourself and hear for yourself and get inspired for yourself, all right? No others have gone before you, so even you can do so. So let's start off with Sam. Sam, please come up. We're going to have a conversation. Encourage him. Clap for him. All right, Sam, you can sit anywhere. I need another. Lewis, Sedina, your mic. Although I think these ones work. Huh? There? Okay.
1 2 1 2 test.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to have a conversation. I'm going to ask him a couple of questions, and then I'll open it up for you guys to ask him questions if you have any. Sounds good? All right. Sam, thank you as always for coming to all these startup events and being open to inspiring young entrepreneurs. I'm very, very grateful. And it's been so good knowing you and seeing how hard you work and how you're always everywhere.
Yeah.
For those people who do not understand French, he's always traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's start here. First, maybe just introduce yourself in terms of your startup. Yeah. Who are you? What is your startup? How did you start?
Yeah, so my name is Samuel Njuguna. First of all, thanks for inviting me here. It's always a great pleasure to be in a space where people are open to discuss. Yes, to discuss ideas. I think there's no better place you can be, because indeed ideas do make the world go round. So my name is Samuel Njuguna. The startup I run is called Chooms. Chooms is slang for money. We define it as a goal-based savings and investment app that uses behavioral psychology and gamification to guide users on how and when to save. In a nutshell, we make savings and investment fun. So, for example, if you receive money in your mobile money, the app will tell you to save some of the money you have received. If you spend money in a restaurant or in a pub, the app will suggest you save some of the money. There are saving games on the app. For example, you can save based on your favorite football team. You can say whenever Arsenal wins, I want to be saving 500 shilling. The app will be telling you when there are Arsenal games, the results, and then at the end of it, it will tell you to save. And you can also save as a group. So, and the idea behind group is, again, what we have seen psychologically working for people traditionally, because we save more culturally, we save more as groups. How do you have the same experience on the app? So on the app, you can invite people. When you deposit, other members are told, hey, Yvonne has deposited. Would you like also to deposit some money? And then you can chat there. So we are currently in Kenya and Rwanda. In Kenya, we have over 300,000 users. Rwanda, we launched in February. And now we are looking to set up in Uganda and Tanzania, and also looking into West Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, so
sounds awesome.
Yeah, so
that's really good.
And you can save as low as 5 shillings.
Okay. And now that there's free Wi-Fi for anyone who doesn't have Chums, just go to the Play Store and download, so you can also see how it works. So the reason I was fascinated when I first heard about Chums is because I had been in the world of financial inclusion for a bit, and we're tackling the excuse me, the payments piece. But every time we tried to get people to save, we'd hit a rock. We were not quite sure why. I think partly was people kept saying that they don't have enough money to save. So is that something that you have found to be true, and how have you guys tried to tackle that piece?
So the way we view that is saving. It's one of those things where everyone has an intention to save.
Yeah.
But there's a gap between intention and action.
Yeah.
That gap is what we call a habit gap. It's the same way you're always very excited about going to the gym or exercising, but there's a gap between the intention and the action. You see the value of going to the gym, but there's a gap between the intention and the action, which is a habit. So what we did, and I think this is the power of you just being open to learning new things. Had always been reading a lot about behavioral psychology and behavioral economics. And the whole, in a nutshell, what it talks about is how do you move people from things they intend to do to actually doing that.
Yeah.
And the premise of that is usually that most decisions people do, they're based off emotions and psychology. So for example, for us telling you to save when you pay in a pub, you know, the moment we see unapiga sherehe and then we tell you, hey, of the money that's in your account, would you like to save? Basically what we are doing is a bit of psychology guilt tripping. We are trying to tell you, tunaona unakunywa na savings je. And funny enough, a lot of people save because of that.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happens is, going back to your question, is it something that can be done? Yes. But now what needs is you need to give people an extra push, or what we call nudges in behavioral psychology, to get people to actually achieve that action.
Okay.
Yeah. So by telling them to save when they receive money, or when they save in a pub, or when their friends save, it increases the motivation for them to save.
Okay.
Yeah. So sometimes you find, yes, people do have money, but they need that extra guidance or push for them to save. Yes.
So when did you start Chums?
So Chums, we started in around COVID time. It started off as a fun project, but before then had tried other startups. We were actually running another startup. So it's something we were doing from, I always say, from 4 p.m. all the way to 9 p.m. with my friends. And then doing a bit of survey from our friends why they don't save. And then in 2022, we got license from CMA, authorization. Again, if you're dealing with public funds, you need to be licensed by Capital Markets Authority. And then from there, that's when we launched. So right now we are slightly around 2 years and 2 years and a half.
Okay.
In the market, yes.
Okay. And currently, like, how many customers do you have on your app?
Right now we have around 300,000. Money that has been saved through the app right now is over now headed to around over $50 million. That's close to over $6 billion. And I think the interesting.
You have $50 million saved.
Yes,
that
has been
people have saved.
Yes.
Oh wow.
And I think the interesting thing around this, our average saving amount is 80 shillings. So that's
Okay.
the amount that you find people depositing per transaction.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think one of the things I always tell people,
Yeah.
we have the brains.
Mm.
Like my recent trip, I was in Estonia, I went to Latvia and also California. And whenever I go there, I'm always amazed by how brilliant Kenyans are, and even the guys I've met there. So one of the things I've always find that's very unique in those other markets, it's just resilience. So the difference between whether you can achieve something or not, the brains we have them, is just the resilience in how fast you can learn and how much time you give to trying new things or the learnings in whatever you're developing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back a little bit. A few years ago, I believe there are just a few.
Yes.
Me, if you ask me, I'll always say there are a few. When you were in school, because a lot of people here, we have guys from ZTech. I know we have people from Riara. We have Daystar. We have USIU. Who haven't I mentioned? Huh? Technical University, yes. So did you start this whole startup manenos when you were in university, or where did you start? What was your journey?
Yeah, so my journey was very interesting. So while other people were, so number one, I started my journey immediately when I was in campus. So I knew, so let me roll that back.
Yes.
There are usually two regrets in life. There's what we call a regret of commission and a regret of omission. So regret of commission are things you did and didn't turn out okay. So you have a regret about that. And then on the other hand, there is what we call a regret of omission. Things you wished you would have done, but never did. So that's something I had learned. And the way I got to learn about that is when I was in third year. One of the things I did was, what are the top 10 regrets people have when they are dying? It's very morbid. And they said one of the most painful is, top is one, whether you spent enough time with your family and friends, and then there's the regret of omission. People usually don't regret things they tried and didn't work out, but the regret of what could have been.
So what you didn't do.
Yes. So, and for that, for me, I knew I had always wanted to try and see whether I can build a business. So I knew that for me would be my regret of omission. So what I did when guys were graduating, for me, I was very crystal clear. I'm not looking for a formal employment. Naenda nijaribu vitu zangu, kakichapa kachape. But at least I'll say I tried my own thing. So what I did was, I remember right before graduation, I went back to my uni. For me, I come from Shags, a place called Gatondo North. So it was either I go back to Ocha or I stay in Nairobi and try whether I can build a business. So I went to the university and asked them, look, I have this idea where I can try and build something of my own. Can you allow me to use the computer labs? And I try to build this. And I remember one of the things that was very interesting with the lecturers were like, people are rushing to get out of university, school, and you want to spend your time here. Yeah, and they said, yes, that's what I want to do. I try my own thing, and I'm requesting just to be using the labs. So I moved to Keno because I was in Chiromo, and between Keno and Chiromo, it was 20 shillings off rush hours. So I would go to Keno in the evening when it's past rush hour, I pay 20, 30 shillings, and then the following day, around 11, I pay the 30 shillings.
Transport.
Yes, to go to the lab.
Okay.
And that's how I basically started. So I started building this thing. By then, I think one of the hardest things you'll ever face, and I can't tell you, maybe it might have, right now it's a bit easier. For me, one of the biggest push I had was my family back in Shags were like, umemaliza masomo, nini unafanya Nairobi? Haujaandikwa kazi, nini hizi unasema unajaribu? Remember our parents, all of them are used to you being, finishing job and getting employed.
Finishing university, yeah.
Mimi je nasema ati niko hapa najaribu vitu za. So I'm staying in Keno, and then I start seeing calls from our pastor from the village, wananita waniombe. It was a very dark moment. Naombewa, my uncles are calling me. Yeah?
They all wanted you to get a job. Or
Yes.
Trying...
In fact, the word was, Sam amebakia Nairobi anavutanga bangi. Hafanyangi, hatafutangi kazi. Marafiki wake wameandikwa kazi.
Yeah.
What is this that he's doing? Na anishi yuko mahali nito kino. So it was a very hard time. But I always say parents give you two things. They give you wings and they tell you can be whatever you want to be. And at the same time, they give you roots that ground you in morals and a certain way of viewing life. So the hardest part you'll ever have is when those two come in conflict, where the wings they have given you are in conflict with your roots. And that for me was one of those moments whereby they had given me these wings where they told me I can be anything I want to be. Right? But at the same time, they're telling me you have to do things the way we have always viewed them, which is you need to, now that you're done with school, you need to go and be employed. So at that moment, because it's a crossroad, I just decided to follow my wings, which was, there's this thing I need to do. They have their own understanding of how things are done, but through education, I've seen other opportunities that I can do. It's not just being employed. I can try this thing. So actually what I did was, I think I spent around 8 months without ever going back home.
Oh.
Huko naombe wangu tu, my prayers.
Yeah.
So, but eventually one day they saw me, I think it was on the cover of Sunday newspaper.
Oh.
And that's when they were like, I think avuti pangi. Kuna kitu wanafanya. And that's when things became easier. And since then they have been very supportive. And I'm happy. Things like internships, employment. I've even given employment for guys from there.
Oh, very good.
So sometimes you have to make your own decisions, and I always say you are as good as the hard decisions that you make. Everyone can make the easy decisions, the easier way route. So if someone is suggesting something, your parents suggesting something, it's always easy just to say, staki kuargue with this, let me take this route. But you need to find that which is true to yourself. And eventually, going back to what I mentioned about the regret of omission. They say I'm usually a bit morbid on this. When you are on your deathbed, or when you're dying, they say life flashes before you. Make sure that video you view when life is flashing before you, it's very interesting. Hakuna mtu anapenda movie boring, si ndio? So make sure hata yako itakuwa interesting. Have stories to tell your kids. Si ati niliandikwa tu job, hiyo ndio nilifurahia, ama hiyo ndio option I only had. I always say when you try your own thing and build your own things, you also have very interesting stories for your kids, whether they succeed or not. It makes for a very interesting journey. And for me, my idea was I wanted to avoid that regret of omission, which essentially is said is more painful than the regret of commission. And the funny thing is, if I can add to that, funny thing, when you try your own thing, you even become more employable. Like when I started my own journey, now I started getting even more CEOs were approaching me.
Oh, really?
I remember there was one company that was asking me whether I can assist them in expanding their business into a number of countries. Because those are whatever drives you to build your company is actually the skill sets that employers are also looking for. People who are self-driven, independent, can make their own decisions, can lead a team. So you also become very employable. And the funny thing is, when you're on that journey, it's so interesting. You want to do your own thing as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, sounds good. Maybe tell us, what did you study at university?
Yeah.
And was it enough for you to start building your startup?
So I will answer that question in two ways. One, my background was I did computer science, but actually, what I got more from uni are the networks I formed.
Oh, the people you met there.
The people, yes. I always tell people in university, that's when you'll get the most dedicated people and the smartest people per square meter. So think of yourself as someone who's looking to start a company in the future. You have a number of years basically to do, what do you call it? It's like you're interviewing people you can work with every day. So if you hear of someone who's very good in sales in another class, maybe you are doing IT, and then you hear there's this one guy who's really very good in accounts. I mean, why don't you just go and say hi to that guy and you form a weak tie? You don't have to be friends, but at least keep contact. And for me, that's how I viewed it. So right now I can tell you for sure, when I started, yes, I was doing a bit of programming, but what I do more is more of management. And the people I brought on board are people I was in uni with, not necessarily in my class. Those were people in other classes that I got to know. So, and the easiest way to do that is if you go to any class, for example, let's say it's in accounts, you ask 3 guys, if I was to work with you and you were to get another guy from your class who can assist me with accounts, who would you suggest? And you do that around to 3 people in accounts. There's one guy they'll always suggest.
Oh, that's the one you picked.
Yeah,
up.
that's the one you pick. Like, it's a very easy way of
Yeah.
So always visualize yourself. Once you are out of here, the networks we have formed, and even in this networking space, the networks we have formed here are networks for life.
Yeah.
And they'll also inform a lot on the things you're going to do, your interest. They'll also be your personal advisors. And I can tell you for sure, one of the guys I met in uni, when we got into the class, guys used to term him as the nerd of the class. Remember, we were in a computer class, but we had this one guy who was very nerdy. So he was the kind of guy.
So he was a nerd in a class of nerds.
In a class of nerds,
Okay.
yeah. So for him, he doesn't know how to sugarcoat. Unamuuliza, he's called Mike. I would ask him, Mike, what do you think of this? And he would say, Sam, that's a crap idea. How do you think? So he was very brutally honest. But I always found that very fascinating. So what I did, I thought, if this guy, this is how he thinks. And all through, I remember even when Bitcoin was starting, we were in the same class, and he came in and he said, hey guys, you should look at this Bitcoin thing, because he's a guy who was always reading magazines, articles. I think you guys should invest. And you're like, Mike, isn't it gani unasoma? What is this? Eventually, and he did that like 3 times, would find whatever he had shared would turn out to be very popular. I remember during COVID time, one of the things I did, because the other thing I like to do is just bringing smart friends together. So we had an online call, and he said, there's this popularity in AI. I think you guys should consider investing in NVIDIA. That was in 2020.
Wow.
And you'd always be awkward like that. And if you ask him about other things, he would be very brutally honest. So our class used to be divided. There are guys who used to be, they didn't like him totally because of how brutally honest he was. He doesn't know how to sugarcoat. But at the same time, I found him to be very interesting. So I met him in campus. I befriended him. He's one of those guys whose social skill is not always the best. And we became friends because we shared a lot of interest. And I can tell you, just from that one friendship, just I have had one of the best advisors I could have. Yeah, so and even now, right now as we speak, we're having him to join our advisory board in the company, and even as part of our expansion plan. So going back to your question, what did I learn do in campus, and what do I feel has been very key? Yes, I did computer science, but the key thing is, one, the networks you have are going to inform a lot on you going forward. The second thing that I also learned there, si niliwaambia mimi nilikuwa mtu wa shags. Mimi nikikuja Kanairo nilikuwa nang'oa vibaya sana. To date there are friends of mine who still make fun. So one of the things I did was I realized, English is the language of business. I couldn't just do Sheng or that. So one of the things I did, I went online and I learned how to have good communication skills. So in the same uni, I decided every day I'll be switching to English.
So you'll only be speaking English?
English, yes. And my friends found it very weird. Wako like, hey, Sam, hizi mangoso mingi ni za nini? And it was part of me learning. And the beauty of
So you were trying to upskill yourself?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I remember one of the things I did was, in uni, you usually have that one guy or one chick who's always speaking in English, and then akiniongelesha and I switched to Sheng. So what I did, again, she was called Kate. So I decided, I'll tell Kate, mi ukiniongelesha tuongee na wewe ngo so English.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of university. You can fail, and you have a safe place to fail in the things you're experimenting. So for me, I've always viewed uni as a place to acquire different skill sets, to be curious about what other people are doing, and not just localized to the key thing I'm just building.
Okay.
And one of the things you learn is when you're building your company is that the people you have or you have met there are going to inform a lot, because beyond this, those are the what people who are going to be part of your network, the experiments you have done in uni, the things you have exposed to yourself, those are going to be a core part of your life. And I can tell you there's no other beautiful place to be than in a university. I mean, you are here talking to them, even with all your wealth of experience. I don't know whether Yvonne has shared her experience. So having had a number of advisory roles in startups, and the only place you can get that is when you are seated in a university and everyone is willing to support you. After umetoka hapa, uko kivya,
you're by yourself.
By the way, when you're in uni, you can even write a letter to a CEO somewhere. Say, I'm in uni, I would like your advice on this. And people are willing to help for free. Ukitoka uni hivi, people will be like, why should I give you the time? But as a student, people are more than willing to support you.
Okay, that's really good advice. You've touched a little bit on this failure, and I know we are all afraid of that word failure. On your startup journey, Sam, have you failed at any point? And if yes, can you talk a little bit about that, and maybe also the learnings that you picked up?
Failure is, you can hear me?
Is that mic on?
Is it on? Yeah. So failure is part of the journey. But we say when you're building a startup, you fail forward. Unajua kuna ile unaweza anguka ufanye soma and then anguke uko nyuma. Like when you're going up a hill, you fail and then you roll back. No, but for startups, you fail forward. So if you fail, it's a chance of learning and then you go forward. So my journey, the way it started, the first company I started when I was in uni was called Chura. It was dealing with airtime distribution. And right now it still exists. It supports over 100 companies in airtime distribution. And then after that, I started another company called Weza. Weza was basically building credit scoring engines using alternative data. So the whole idea was, how can you determine that someone is creditworthy using alternative data sources outside bank data? So things like airtime, how you pay your tokens. For example, someone who's paying tokens for 2K versus one who's paying for 5K or 10K. How do the two compare? And then we'd create models around that. And for that, we did projects in Kenya, Ethiopia, Haiti, Senegal, all the way to Cameroon. So what happened was, because it was a credit scoring engine, basically we were empowering people who are lending. And then COVID happened. And then one of our biggest market where we had a lot of banks we were partnering with was in Ethiopia. And then war broke out in Ethiopia.
Oh, yes.
So all of a sudden, you have these models, you have raised a lot of money for the company, you have engineers you are paying. There's something in contracts you'll see called the act of God. Act of God or vis major. You can Google that. So when you sign agreements with entities, there's something always called a vis major, which says in a scenario where there's an act of God or something that happens outside the control of the relationship, you need to understand that it was outside our control, so there's nothing you can do. And I always wrote that, we would sign against that, and we didn't think it would happen. So it happened, COVID happened, and war broke out in Ethiopia. So all of a sudden, all our contracts,
there was no business coming in.
They were kaput.
Oh dear.
And we had to go back to our investors and tell them, look, there's nothing that's working here. At the banks in Ethiopia, they're no longer engaging because of the war. Guys are working from home. Some of them have closed. And we had to close that whole business.
Oh dear. Was it painful to close the business?
Yeah, it's very painful. And especially when you have, guys you are paying. I think that's the most painful thing. People who are depending on you, you being the vision carrier. They're looking up to you. They're asking you, how does tomorrow look like?
Yeah.
And part of being candid is telling them, tomorrow you'll have to look for another new job. And you assist them in doing that. So very bitter, very painful, but then again, it's a learning process. So the next question is, then how do you cover yourself for such eventualities?
Yeah.
But also it also becomes a point where now I can share such experiences.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think the thing you learn from that is you learn to be very candid with your team. You realize that as much as you can be perfect in whatever you do, you never foresee anything and everything that can happen.
Yeah.
And you also learn how to maintain relationships in a very hard environment.
Okay.
Remember what I said, you only become as hard as the hard decisions you only become as good as the hard decisions you take.
Yeah.
The easiest thing is always to take the easiest route, but you grow during hard times. That's when you grow. Remember, in this journey of building, other than achieving something that is working, what is most interesting is the character you build along the way. Because in building it also informs your character based on how you associate, how you relate, and how you build. Yeah.
That's so true. All right, let's take a pause there. Does anybody have any question for Sam? We can take 3 questions. I can see, wow. Okay.
I'm also open for people who want to give me M-Pesa.
On Chums, let them save on.
You can save on Chums.
Them save on Chums.
Yes.
All right. Who's asking the first one? Please just say your name, and if you could please stand up. Please stand up so we can see you clearly. Say your name and then ask your question. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Billy.
Sorry?
I'm Billy.
Okay.
Okay, my first question. Actually, I have 2 questions to ask.
Okay.
Yes.
My first question: how will your app handle user inconsistency income in case of freelancers? How will you automate saving work? That's my first question. Second, if your app makes money through interchange fees or premium features, how will you realign revenue generation with encouraging savings, not spending?
Which it doesn't, but
Yeah. So on the app, actually, we allow people to save 5 shillings at any point during whatever point that works for you. I can tell you for sure we have a lot of freelancers who are using it. On the app, you'll see you can create any goal. You can create a goal for business, for emergency, for insurance, whatever you want to create. And that aligns with a lot of freelancers. So, so, you could deposit at any time that's best convenient for you. You can do end month, every day. We have challenges such as Mia Kwa Mia. Mia Kwa Mia basically tells you save 100 shillings for 100 days, and the app will be reminding you every day. The other things we call envelope challenge. Envelope challenge will always be giving you a magic number every week and tells you, hey, today your magic number is 5. So if you had said your base amount is 100, it will tell you then you need to deposit 100 times 5, which is 500 shillings. And it will do that for 12 weeks. Yeah, so the app is basically, the whole idea is just tying you to any investment or saving lifestyle that works for you. Yeah, so it's open. So in terms of alignment around revenue, so what we do is you have said about interchange fees. Yeah, so we make our money through a number of ways. One is the management fee that fund managers normally give, because the money we collect actually earns interest on the app. You'll be seeing interest being earned on the app every day. So what happens is we get a fee from the fund manager. So irrespective of when you deposit, it will still continue. And the other thing I can also mention is the other idea we have is eventually we'll also introduce, for whatever you're saving for, let's say you're saving for land or vacation, we also plan on introducing merchants that can also give value to whatever you're saving for. So for example, you're saving for insurance, we can match you with an insurance provider where you can get the insurance at a lower rate. Yeah.
I think that's good. I want to just add something, and thank you for that question. And maybe the next person who's ready with the question can also go. I just want to add something about habit, because I think that's really good. And the thing that fascinates me about Chums is you've been able to marry 2 worlds. One, which is financial services, and the other one that's behavioral psychology that lends into behavioral economics. And the reason that fascinates me is when you're trying to build a habit, even for yourself, just try anything, even going to the gym, as you said. Once you're trying to break the mold for your own personal self, the first one is not easy. So what you do, I don't know, who has read a book called Atomic Habits? Ah, excellent. You guys are such good students. So I love the way he says that you stack a habit against another one. So that's what, so when you say mia kwa mia, for example, the reason that is actually quite simple yet brilliant is because you're telling me, as Yvonne, here 100, just say start small, relatively small. I know it's not small for everybody, but relatively small. Start 100, then do tomorrow, then do tomorrow, then do tomorrow. By the time you're in, I think even maybe day 15, day 17, day 20, it's now become a habit. Because the biggest barrier, even for personal savings, I can tell you, is just that habit. Money always has somewhere to go. It always has a need. So for you to save, there are people who I find are very disciplined savers, and well done to them. I feel like they were created that way. And then there's the rest of us who really struggle. So I really like that habit stacking piece. So whatever else you're building also, the reason I was saying this is, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. When you're doing design thinking, always be human-centered. So whatever you're building, always think about the human behind the customer. What is it that they're thinking, feeling? So that then you can stack up whatever habit you're trying to create from them. I hope I'm making some sort of sense. Who's next? Question?
And the addition to that is the way you handle your 50 shillings, 100 shillings, is the way you'll handle your thousands. I think we usually have this notion, mamia naeza choma hiyo pesa, I can spend that money, and then ile siku nitapata 10k, I'll be very disciplined. Hiyo mia utakuwa ukikula dondo, once you get thou, unaanza kukula nyama. Either way you are spending. Remember, it's a habit. So the way you handle the small amount is also the way you'll handle the large amount. So it's not like one day you wake up and magically you are very disciplined about money. So that's why even the 5 shillings count and how you handle that.
Okay.
Yes? Sorry.
Yes, go for it.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Lindy Siboy. I'm from Daystar, and I have 3 questions. The first one, could you kindly, if possible, tell us the valuation of your company and the users like the ones who use Chooms, the approximate number, if exact number, and number 2, how did you stay consistent, especially since you started the company at a young age as a comrade? There's a lot going on in life. Sometimes maybe you have to skip a meal or two, just the usual comrade
Kuinama.
life. Yeah, kuinama. Yeah, so staying consistent and blocking out unnecessary noise, maybe there are people who didn't support your idea fully, people who thought you're like, hey, someone I do, will it really work? Something like that. And then number 3, you've mentioned that you've given internship opportunities and attachment, and I would like to ask for one. Yeah. Thank
Publicly.
you.
Unajituma, which is nice. Yes. That's very bold. I love that. So yeah, so in terms of users, right now we are around 300,000 in Kenya. In Rwanda is still growing. Now in Rwanda we are past 1,000. We started it early February, late Jan. We haven't really marketed it there. We wanted it to grow organically so that we can get a chance to improve on any small issues we see in that market. So as we speak right now, that's when we are looking now to go all out on the marketing. In terms of valuation, so valuation differs, and I think this is something that you can also be very curious to go and learn. How do you do valuation? So one way is by proxy. You can always look at other companies in the space or very similar to what we are doing, how much they are valued, depending on the stage. That's one way you do go about it. There's usually the classic one where you also do valuation based on the revenues. So whereby we say the valuation of a company is multiples of its revenues. And then obviously there's also one which is hard based on your previous fundraising that you did. And then based on that now, you get an idea of how much you are valuing the company. Yes, so
okay.
Yeah. So right now, the only thing I can tell you is we are doing what you term as a Series A fundraising, where we are raising around $2 million. So I'm very happy for anyone who wants to come and invest. Yes, I'm very happy, and the money we are using for expanding to the rest of Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Love it.
yeah. In terms of, I think you also asked about what made me keep focused. One of the things you learn in life is that there are some what we call lonely journeys. Lonely journeys are whenever you're finding your true self. You know, the same way you go and meditate by yourself. That's exactly what happens when you're focused on your own thing. Usually boring. It's not interesting to most people. Working on ideas is very abstract, but then it's something that is within you. So it has to start from you. You build that, and then when you have a product, that's when people come on board. And I can give you an example. I always tell people, if someone came here and told you, hey, look, I have this idea whereby I can create a website where people will be saying what they are thinking, and then we'll be sharing photos of friends. Sounds very boring, right? But then if that's something you believe in, you'll do that. But when it becomes a product, that's when people realize, the idea you are talking about is actually Facebook. People can share what they are thinking and they can share photos. But now when I say Facebook, it's more relatable and people are willing to come on board. So when the idea is very abstract, that's a journey you take by yourself. And that's the hardest thing you'll ever do. Nimekuwa nikiambia wasee, I think the saddest thing and the best thing at the same time is the fact that you guys are growing up in a generation where social media is in your face. The same tools you are meant to use to build, whether it's the laptop or the phone, it's full of the same content that is trying to distract you. So the decision for you on taking that solo journey becomes it is more of a premium journey. At the same time, those same tools, if you want to learn something, they also avail a very easy way of learning anything you would like to learn anywhere in the world or any interest. So it's up to you to decide on that solo journey what you're going to take up. Yeah, so mine is focus on yourself. When you get into the journey, deep into the journey, that's when other people can join you. And then that during that time, it also becomes easier because now you're going as a clan or as a tribe, not just by yourself. But for you to take those baby steps, it has to come from you. And you have to, to cover the distraction, ujue ignore Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, nothing. And then you just focus on books and building. And I can tell you, it's an exercise you'll have to work on. Yeah. What was your third question on the internships? Yeah, so we can always discuss. Obvious, we have a process, and considering the people who are applying, right? We usually have a journey, but one of the things, because our company has grown by support by our people, by Kenyans, my way of giving back is by coming in such spaces. I always tell Yvonne, I'm always excited to share ideas because I also got here because of other people who gave us talks in the uni. I mean, you could be anywhere, mnapiga sherehe, leo ni Saturday, unaweza kuwa una watch anything, but you're here trying to learn. So I also try to give as much as I can, but then again, even that has its own limitations. Yeah, so yeah, more than happy. You'll see Chums and then you can share up info on the website. Yeah, and then if as we progress, once opportunities open up, I'm always more than happy to see how I can assist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. Maybe one last question from the back. Wow, this.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
Joshua from Riara. I just a personal question to you. While you're bootstrapping as a startup, how do you deal with keeping talent while you're trying to offer them a good? Okay, perhaps they're getting good offer from other places, but you're not giving them what they want. But you are at the same time you are bootstrapping. Just a background for this: the year is 2023. I applied to Chums and I got a role, but I declined. And I went for another startup. I wanted to be in the startup space, but right now I want to be in the startup field. I already started my own startup, but I feel like it's always a struggle to keep talent when you're bootstrapping. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, so when you're building, there are two types of people. There's what we call machineries and missionaries. Think of it when the Wazungus were coming here, the people who were sent were missionaries. They were people who were very tied to the role and very excited about the work of coming here and trying to chart a new path where no path existed. And the incentives are very different. Then you have machineries. Machineries are people, there's a very clear path. Their motivation is very clear. Either they want to be paid, and that's all they do. After you have, think of it, umeenda kwa forest. Missionaries watakuja watafute njia, wakatekate nini the bushes, and they try and find a path where none exists. Machineries will find an already existing path. For them is to broaden the path. So you need to understand where you are in the phase. There are people who join us. I can tell you we have very high expensive engineers, but the reason why they have joined us is because they are very keen to learn what we are doing, basically the exposure we've had, and to learn. For example, right now we are expanding the company. We hope in 2 years we'll be in around 11 markets. There are people who are joined specifically because of that. They're willing to get pay cuts. Again, in our market, there's the Microsoft, the Google. There are all these companies that are raising a lot of funds. So it depends on the interest of the individual. There's one company in the US that did something very interesting. I remember the name, but I remember the founder of the company has a book called Delivering Happiness. So one of the things he used to do is, after he hires you, on the day you're signing the contract to join the company, he will tell you, I'll give you, for example, around 3 million for you to leave the company. We have onboarded you, but now that you have joined, I'll give you 3 million and you leave the company. But if you want to stay, I'm not going to give you that 3 million immediately. And the whole idea behind that, he was looking for people who are really focused on the mission. So what happens is, and part of our recruitment is, we usually ask people, what is it that you want to get out of this company? Because if it's money, you'll always find someone who's paying more money. But if there are people who are interested in financial literacy, creating an impact on investments and all that, they'll come and join, and they'll be happy to be with you. So, and for those, one of our offering is always things, for example, discussions around shares, and also an opportunity to grow with the company. Like the guys we started with, some of them have now, for example, like in customer support and customer success, some of them now are the ones who are heading our regional customer success roles. And then because it's a startup, we also try and enable them to learn any other area of interest they might have in the company, whether it's design, whether it's programming. We have guys who came in doing customer success, and now they are programmers. They are now in the engineering team. And that's the flexibility you get with startups. When you get into big companies and you're employed, remember, in big companies, you just focus on one role. If you are, for example, doing accounts, that's all you'll do. You'll focus on accounts. But the beauty of being in a startup is you get to be part of the decision making across board. Like on Fridays, we have what we call Frideation, which is ideation, basically people sharing ideas. And you get to be in that position and we discuss. So in a way, you grow fully. You get to learn. The learning curve is very steep. For example, when we set up in Rwanda, what we did was I just sent some of my team members there and try and figure out how to set up. They had never done that before, but because of curiosity, they'll try and do that. And in actual sense, they did. And they came back with more experience, a wealth of knowledge, and also excitement. So at the end of the day, if you try and compete on funds, there'll always be someone who's paying more than you. But if you compete on value, then you'll attract the right people who are very particular and focused on the value you are giving.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where's Lewis? Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Sugut from Riara, and I've got a question. How did you choose navigate the financial regulations and the carry, because you are a fintech, right? So for someone who's building fintech, I'm currently building a fintech, and one of the hardest things I found is the financial regulations. Like, you can just wake up a day and find that CBK or any other government entity is having like this bizarre law that they are trying to pass. So how did you navigate that? Thank you.
Awesome. I think that's a great question. The first thing you need to know is that, and I think Wangeshi will mention on this in your legal discussion, they say ignorance is not defense. So the first thing you need to do is understand the regulations that are there. For example, in Kenya, when you talk about savings, savings is under CBK. When you talk about investments, that's under Capital Markets Authority. When you talk about you're creating a platform that does escrow, that's under CBK. When you talk about things like I'm doing payments, peer-to-peer, definitely that's under CBK. So you need to know where the line sits. That's one. Two, CMA in the last, when we were onboarding, 1 year earlier, they had created what we call a sandbox. What is a sandbox? So sandbox is a way of saying, look, there's something you're building that we think is interesting. Instead of us pushing hard on regulation on you, why don't you build in this environment? And then as we see what you're building, then we can regulate you step by step, but you are under our view on what you are doing. So you need to understand regulators that do have a sandbox, because a sandbox allows you to do that without going hard or spending years on regulation. The other thing, another way of going about that is look for licensed partners. For example, if you're building a fintech, partner with a bank. There are banks right now that are very keen to work with fintechs. Banks like DTB, they have a program called Astra, whereby if you are a fintech, you don't need to get your own licenses. You just need to go partner with them, and then they'll cover you on their license. And a lot of companies have done that. So that's banks like DTB. I know they have been very big on that. KCB is also trying to do something similar. ABSA. So the other way to go about that is just work with a licensed entity, show them value of what you're building, and then they'll cover you on the licensing side. They'll send to the regulator, we are working with this fintech, kindly allow us to work together, and then we'll cover them on the regulation.
Yeah. I agree. And also maybe instead of going for big banks, I always suggest for fintechs. And also because you don't want to incur all the high licensing fees, and then you're going to be asked for all this market capitalization, or that you must absolutely have attained for deposit taking institutions. I would suggest you also look at microfinance institutions. Microfinance institutions, SACCOs, because you will still get the same experience and exposure if it's in the world of payments or whatever it is, if it's credit, whatever it is, you'll get good exposure there that you can then build. And then when you have built enough muscle, now you can start going to KCBs and whatnot. Sometimes those guys, you can be over there just knocking and they'll never look at you. But once you start and build your credibility, then you have something. By the way, CBK have been promising a sandbox since, when was I at the first finance? I think since 2016. I've not seen it. Okay, guys, we need to let Wangeshi come on and speak. Who has banning in a what? All these are banning questions. Lewis, I don't know how you're going to.
One question, and then I try and answer very quickly.
Yes.
Yes.
Just one last question.
Okay, my name is Tulia.
Allah. Okay. All right.
From
go for it.
Daystar.
Yes.
Mine is about the app. It's a kind request for especially the Tunes Vault. I find it that we can't be able to edit our goal. So once, especially for like 12 months, 9 months. So once I reach my target, even if it's 6 months later, like I think it will make me like to stop there. So, but if we had the option to edit our goals, I think that it will keep me like going. So can that?
So we edit the period to longer.
Like make it,
to make it shorter, what?
Us be able to edit our goals.
Okay.
Especially the Shum's goals.
Okay. Oh, thanks for the feedback. I'll definitely share that with the team. Yeah, and we're more than happy to hear more feedback and seeing how we can improve on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for that. Thanks a lot. Yeah.
So we end here.
There's someone there who has been raising.
He's been raising their
hand. At this rate,
just stand up quickly so that people can see.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My name is Rebecca, and it was last year when I learned about Chums in November. Yeah.
Thanks.
But in the process of registering, I found that, okay, I'm an international student. I found that I can't register. It needs a national ID. Is there a way you can accommodate foreigners, because you find that there are Kenya hosts international student foreigners as well. And if someone is introduced to such an app where they want to track their savings, can you have a provision for a foreigner to register their credentials?
Correct. So after this, I'll connect you with our customer success team. Consider that done. Yes, yes. And
All
sorry
right.
about that. So you can actually register with a passport, but for that we usually have to engage our customer success team, and then they'll add you to the platform.
Okay. All right.
The last one.
Hopefully my question is simple enough to save time. My name is Howie. I wanted to ask about the data laws when it comes to handling so many people's user profiles, which I'm sure Chums does. What organization handles that, and how it would work if you do expand internationally, and also just how Chums itself goes about handling so many people's data.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's a great question.
Thank you.
Wangeshi, you'll have a bulk of the work explaining that. But what we have done here is we registered with the Office of Data Protection. That's one. But then again, that's not enough. It has to do with how you have structured the platform. So entities like CMA, Capital Markets Authority, one of their key mandate is protecting the clients. So that's also something that they're very sensitive about. So for you to get what you're doing or to get a license, they need to be sure that whatever you are doing is within the handling of the data laws. So what we do is data pertaining to a given market sits in that market. For example, in Rwanda, the regulation is such that if you're dealing with KYC data, that is know your customers, that data needs to sit in Rwanda. So we can't upload that even online. So we have servers in Rwanda that handle that data. So depending on the market, we align to that market. Again, we register with the Office of Data Protection so that we align. And also the way we have structured the platform is in line with what the regulator, data protection laws, and best practices are on an engineering perspective. Yeah, so it's not enough just to register in those organizations. For you as a company, you need to be ethical and have engineers who are, ethically conscious of what you're doing and allow that to sit there. So again, we're a company that doing savings and investment. It's a trust game, and the only way you win in such a space is by doing the right thing to enhance that trust.
In the same breath, what about security? Can I hack into your system?
So security, same case. So
Yeah.
one of the things, again, I was very conscious about, even when we were building Chums, is just to get very experienced engineers. We have engineers who have built core banking systems across Africa and Europe. At the same time, engineers who have expanded other platforms across 15 markets. So, and the only way you do that is by having people who are very strong in what they do. You start somewhere, but then as you build, you bring such kind of experience into the team. And then the other thing is always to engage people in the security space as well. There's a reason why you have market for cybersecurity. So they need to test the system, see how it works, have those penetration testing, points of failure, and that's the only way you can enhance the system.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I think let's stop there. I know I'm conscious that Sam, you need to rush somewhere for another meeting. But I want to say thank you so much for sharing your insights and your experience and everything with us. So thank you so very much.
Thanks. And I would like to say, whatever you guys are doing, even think about ideas, you're in the right space. If worse comes to worse, even if the idea doesn't work, you can always be employed. Remember that. And even you become more employable because you tried your own thing. Let that always sit in your mind. So I know we always have a very big fear of failure. It's part of the journey, 1. 2, the other thing that will happen when you exit your college days is there are people who will get a job day 2. In fact, there are people who are going to be employed. But remember, everyone has their own path.
Yeah.
When I started my own company, 1 year down the line, guys were earning, they were employed. I was still trying to figure out how to build.
Yeah. You're still doing 20 bob, mathrees.
Yes. Mi nakula tu mambao. In fact, the interesting story was I was going to do marketing in Upper Hill.
Yeah.
Nimepiga kalesa, nimetembea kutoka tao, Upper Hill kiatu inakaa hivi. I'm giving out flyers, and then I would meet my colleagues. From school. Going into the office, me, I'm giving out flyers. But I can tell you, never judge yourself or make an image because of someone else.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own path.
Yeah.
For me, it has been exciting. It's been fun. Yeah, and being here and sharing these stories also makes it interesting. Cindy,
Yes.
so startup A, Semeni A, startup A, startup A, startup A, startup A. Awesome. So keep trying. We fail, but we fail
forward.
Awesome.
All right.
Thanks.
Let's give a round of applause to Sam. Thank you so very much. And all the best as you continue to build Chums. All right. I think we've taken a bit longer time than we had expected because you guys had such interesting questions. I think let's take a quick tea break. All right? Do our best to be back here by 11. Wangeshi has a lot to share. So let's go grab a tea, coffee really quickly. Then let's be back in 20 minutes at 11. Thank you.